Evil Dead Rise. 10 out of 10 on blood and gore. Okay, you guys, I didn't take a lot of notes on this. I'm not an Evil Dead fan, so I really didn't feel super pumped about watching this movie. I decided, I don't know, a week or so ago that I'd go ahead and get a ticket for it, even though I wasn't particularly interested and I didn't plan on it at all. And then I was like, I'll just buy a ticket. I'll go see it so I can review it for the channel. I went into this not super pumped. I watched it most of the time I was watching it. I wasn't super involved or engaged. Not involved. It's not like you can be involved. I didn't feel super engaged or attached to these characters. They were okay. They weren't horrible. This movie wasn't horrible if you're a fan, I guess, of Evil Dead. If you like really bloody, really gory, nasty horror type movies with a decent thread of writing going on and decent characters that do things that aren't illogical, that actually do make some sense, then I think you like this film. I did like it. I didn't hate it. I liked it, but I didn't love it. So I don't really have a ton to say about it, honestly. And there's a lot of stuff I'm sure about Evil Dead, just the franchise in general, that I don't know enough about to really, like, maybe there was a lot of stuff that went over my head in this film. I did recognize the book because not long ago I replayed the 2013, well, I say replay, but I don't think I ever saw it before. Anyway, I played the 2013 film, like if I did, just like in the background when I was working or something. So I played the 2013 film, but I was working when I played it. However, I was sort of kept an eye on it. So I saw there was this book, and when the book showed up in this movie, I was, oh, I recognize that. But for the longest time, I thought Evil Dead was about zombies, and it's not. Not specifically. I found out they were called Deadites or something, and they're basically like zombies that are demon possessed. That's about the best way I can think to describe it. So the stuff in here, the movie starts off with showing a scene of some people, and then you can tell like this stuff is going on, obviously. And then it flashes back to a day before. So then in the flashback, we follow this family, and we see what led up to the events that were portrayed in the very beginning of the film. And the premise is they find this book. The bad stuff is unleashed, and a lot of blood and gore happens. You've seen what happens in the trailer. That's basically the entire premise of the movie. These kids are fighting to survive what used to be their mother. She's not their mother anymore. Her sister, their aunt, is there, and it's basically a fight for survival in this apartment complex. There is a chainsaw, which I thought was kind of funny. It's obviously, I recognize that Ash used a chainsaw in the Evil Dead movies, and so I thought it was, it was fitting that we saw a chainsaw in this one. So yeah, I mean, they're just, I don't have really much bad to say about it. I don't have a ton good to say about it. I did appreciate the cinematography. I did like that, especially shots through the peephole. There's like a whole sort of thing that plays out that they see through that one of the characters sees through the peephole, and I thought that was really interesting how that was carried off. There's sometimes horror. There's some horror that can be really goofy. It can be bloody and just ridiculous, over the top with the goofiness, and just and it makes you laugh, right? Because sometimes it's so crazy, it's comedic. The earlier Evil Dead movies, or from what I understand, the second one was kind of like that. This was not. There wasn't really anything comedic about the gore in here. I had heard that there was some comedy in here, but I really think the only sort of comedic stuff in here was just some dialogue that was said by, let's say, the mother or anyone when they were possessed, like, she said, "Mommy's with the maggots now," or there was something else that she said, but that wasn't really super comedic to me. I didn't find that funny. There wasn't any laughter in the theater when I was watching it. There was some yelling out loud moments. There's something that happened in the opening scene and someone yelled out loud. There's something else that happened when this zombie possessed mother's trying to get back into the apartment, and she's trying to talk one of the kids into unlocking it, and someone was, like, said something to the screen like, "No, don't," or something like that. I thought that was kind of funny. So the audience was sort of engaged. Honestly, I didn't really feel super amped up about stuff that was happening until the movie was well over halfway through, and it became this just vicious battle to survive with this woman and the children that she's trying to protect, and things are just falling apart around them. One thing I did not understand, maybe Evil Dead fans can explain this to me, but there's a scene where two of the characters are in this particular place, and it starts to fill up with a bunch of blood. Where's the blood coming from and why? Is this a thing that just happens in Evil Dead? That was one scene that I was like, what's all this about? I don't understand this. Where's this blood coming from? I don't know. Whatever. That's not necessarily con territory. I was just confused. Maybe you guys can clear it up for me if you know. Anyway, I felt like it was an okay enough experience. I did like the casting of the two main sisters. I felt like in some ways they favored each other enough to convincingly portray themselves as sisters. And the acting in here was really good. Everyone did a fine job. The physical mannerisms that the possessed played whenever they were fully transformed into whatever it is these creatures are, I thought that was done really well. The effects, in my opinion, they were done well enough that if there was a lot of CGI in here, I didn't notice it so much. A lot of it looked very practical, and there's something that happens at the end with this creature thing, and it looks very practical. It's probably mostly CGI. Maybe there's a mixture, but I thought it was done really well. In a lot of horror movies, or just in a lot of movies in general, there's CGI that's so over the top and it looks terrible. When Arturo watched the prequel to the Thing movie, the CGI in there was very noticeable, and that was its weakest point compared to the Thing movie from the 80s, which was practical effects. This, I feel like, did a really good job with the effects. CGI maybe combined with practical. I'm really curious to read up a little bit more and find out how extensive the visual effects were in this film. Maybe stuff like that, like the stuff on her face, maybe some of that is CGI mixed with some practical. I felt like that was, it was decent. It wasn't anything that detracted from the experience. So yeah, this is going to be a pretty short review. I don't have a ton to say about it. It wasn't super impactful for me, but that's only because I'm just not into this franchise. It's not necessarily because this movie is bad. I don't think this is a bad movie as far as horror movies go, and especially, I guess, as far as Evil Dead movies go. I'm glad to know that fans so far seem to appreciate it. Not sure whether it'll be number one or if Mario's going to be number one again this weekend. Mario's just kind of like, cleaning up at the movie theaters. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, I don't have a ton more to say, y'all. It's just that I don't feel strongly enough about it to just go on and on and on. I almost considered not even doing a review. And then I was thinking, no, the whole reason I went to go see this was to do a review, to talk about it. Then I thought about just doing a short. I was like, nah, I don't have the mental energy to condense my thoughts down to less than a minute. So this is my review. This is probably about as much as I'll talk about it, and I don't have anything else to say. So I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Okay, you guys. Bye.